Okay, let's move on. Culture issue, culture topic.
Next section. Let's do it.
Next section. You're immersed several countries, right?
Mhm.
Where?
So United States, United Kingdom, Jordan, and now here
Wow.
in South Korea.
Four countries.
4 countries
already.
in 2 years. Yes. Busy, busy.
In 2 years, 4
2
countries.
years. Yeah.
Wow.
hmm So,
So-
it's been a lot. It's exciting though.
That diverse cultural experience, how that experience have shaped your perspective in
Yeah.
your life?
Yeah, I had mentioned this before, but I think you can find similarities in all the different cultures,
Mm-hmm.
and realize the world is obviously different in many ways, but also very similar in other ways. So yeah, I think navigating different cultures and stuff, you can find those common threads and find your place within it. I mean, as a foreigner, you'll always be a bit different, but I think yeah, you can find a way to integrate as well and become at least a bit more immersed in the place you're living.
But you lived in you've lived in US like until 20s, more like that.
I left at 22.
22.
Yeah, so I lived in different parts of the U.S. I did
What
university out in the Midwest by Chicago, but from New York area originally. But yes, I've traveled the U.S. a decent amount.
But
about
after
22.
US, from UK, Jordan, and Korea, you lived that countries as a foreigner, right? Foreigner experience, right?
Yep.
What do you like a U.S. citizen living in U.S. very safety, very comfortable, and very familiar atmosphere environment, and then you left, and then you lived in as a foreigner, like an alien sometimes, right? How did you feel like that foreigner experience?
I think when I first moved to the UK, I felt a bit shocked and out of place, which is looking back, and I think is a bit silly. But that was my first country I had lived in abroad. And so yeah, I think there's just the things of dealing with visas and dealing with immigration and things like that. It was quite stressful, again at 22, just trying to figure it out. But then I felt even more out of place in Jordan, right, different culture. And then
More different, right?
yeah, very different. And looking back, I think I realized how similar the US and the UK are. So I think it was an easy first step, right? And speaking the same language and just so many common cultural ties. And then, yeah, so Jordan was quite different. But there is a large foreigner community in Jordan with all the different UN agencies and NGOs and such. So you can kind of find a community relatively easy there. And Jordanians are very friendly, and now
very friendly.
Yeah, very kind and welcoming. And Korea is very different from Jordan as well, and other places I've lived. So it's a new experience for me being here.
Wow. So then, that difference experience make your sense of identity grows. You think?
Yeah. I mean, I think these experiences and starting fresh constantly in new countries, I think it really makes you have to kind of become very strong with yourself and very self-confident.
Self-confidence.
Yeah, because the only person you can really rely on in these settings is yourself. Right? You can find friends and people in the places, of course, but you know, at the end of the day, it is just you, and like whatever country you're in, you have to do so much relying on yourself. Again, figuring out immigration and all the different things of getting set up in a new country, phone plans, apartments, whatever it might be. So yes, I think you become very trusting of yourself, and you have to be kind of very self-aligned in that regard.
Oh, it's very good thing.
I think it builds character for sure. It's not easy, right? It's kind of building character through struggles and things that aren't the easiest to navigate, but I think it's a very positive experience in that regard.
You're more stronger than previous.
I think, yeah, I mean, if I had stayed in the United States and never left, I think I would have been a different person than I am now. Not saying better or worse, but just different.
Okay. So then you lived in Korea like 1 month?
Only 1 month, yes. I'm a newbie.
1 month already, right?
Yes.
So what's the difference, what you expected before you come here and after that?
Yeah.
What did you expect?
So this is something I've started to do, and it's, you know, people
It's
can
first time,
disagree
right?
with it. Yeah, I've been to the region before, other countries, Japan and China and such, but not Korea.
Okay.
But yes, I try to come in with limited expectations actually, because I don't want to have these preconceived notions or like expect one thing and get another. I sort of just take it at very surface value. So it's kind of experience and understanding through living it. So yeah, I didn't really have too much like knowledge coming into it. I'm trying to learn now, but yeah, I've seen obviously the K-pop and K-culture that's been exported. I had an understanding of it, but it's different to be here and like actually live in Seoul and see how normal Koreans actually operate. So
what do you expect so then?
I don't know. I
in
mean,
Korean life.
I think like the people are all very cool. They dress very well.
Oh, you think so? In compared to another culture.
I think Seoul is
Clothes
the best fashion I've seen anywhere.
Oh,
actually,
really?
yeah,
Oh.
yeah. The area I
Which
live
one?
in, Seoul. Sorry.
Which one is which fashion? I mean.
I think a lot of the streetwear is very cool. Like so, where I live in like Hapjeong area by Hongdae, people wear the coolest stuff. So I need to change up my wardrobe a little bit, do some shopping to blend in. But yeah, I think the style here is very cool, and people just seem very confident and very, I don't know, out there. So I appreciate that.
You feel like that. So then, of course, only 1 month's experience in Korea.
Yeah.
Where is the favorite place in Seoul?
I actually really love the area I live in. So it's next to Hongdae, which is a very international area, of course. But where I am is a bit more residential. There's a lot of nice coffee shops and boutiques and restaurants. It's like Sangsu area, yeah.
Cafe area.
Yeah, and it's right by the river, so I go running along the river.
Han River, you mean?
Yes, yes. So, and the World Cup Stadium's not too far. So it's actually a really nice area, and I find myself spending too much time there. I need to go explore the city a bit more, but I just get very comfortable in my neighborhood.
Nice.
So yeah, I got lucky with it.
And I'm curious about the difference of dating culture. Because you lived in 4 countries and you definitely had a relationship during 2 years, 3 years, right? So what do you think about the different dating culture, or in terms of dating culture, or just the same?
Yeah, I think dating is also one of the best ways to explore a culture, because you kind of you get to see how people like act and have like, if you're dating somebody from the country or even somebody that's lived there for a long time, they're obviously very knowledgeable about it. They'll take you to some good places and explain how it works. So yeah, I think dating in the US and UK is very similar, just because the people are very similar.
Continue. I will.
Oh, okay. Just kind of like the same cultural background and the same approach to dating. Obviously, you get little things of like how one country takes the certain elements of dating, but Jordan is a bit different just because it's quite conservative and quite religious. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot more kind of, if you're a foreigner in Jordan, you kind of will date other foreigners, because Jordanians kind of do like either not date or kind of stay within their own communities. And Korea, I've not really done it yet, just because I've only been here a month. And
you should try, right?
Eventually, yeah. I've just been really focused on getting started with my new role and getting settled in Seoul. I've not really gotten around to it quite yet, but eventually, of course.
Of course, right?
Yep.
You're really curious about that, right? Korean
Yeah,
dating
of course.
culture.
I mean, like I said, it's something I always am interested in doing, and to learn more about the people in the culture. I think it's a good way to approach it. Even if it's just a casual sort of thing, just understanding.
But as you mentioned, dating, love, relationship is the key to understand the culture.
I wouldn't say it's all of it, but it's a big component. Not a big component, but I think it's an aspect of it. If you really want to say like you live somewhere and live like one of the people from like whatever city you're in, I mean, then you have to do the things that they do, which is dating and having an ordinary life and working and seeing different parts of the city. So I think it's just a natural part of existing in places.
So then that kind of cross-cultural experience, right, is an asset of yours, right, for your life?
I think so, in the sense that I can try to understand different like people in different ways and different cultures. I think if I was coming from maybe directly an American perspective, I might be taken a bit back by different like whether somebody's a bit more conservative or the expectations of dating, like you don't do this or you don't do that. I think now I'm a bit more kind of like hands off and just see kind of how things go and didn't try not to overstep any boundaries or don't always come in with a Western expectation of dating. Just be a bit more careful.
But as a Western guy, Korea is the East, different cultural background, right? You feel like it's totally different culture. When you come here, or just similar.
I think it is quite different.
Which one is different, by the way?
Like between the United States and Korea, I think there's a decent amount of differences, yeah. And I think in many different ways. Like obviously there's similarities, but yeah, I do think the cultures are quite different.
Which one is different?
Like the two from each other, I think are quite different. Like I think still feeling a bit of culture shock as I'm relatively
Culture
new.
shock? Which one is culture shock in Korea?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not very familiar with like Korean food, so approaching how to go to restaurants and like flag down the waiters and then kind of approach the cuisine. And yeah, I mean, just small little things. I don't know. There's not quite a specific aspect, but it's sort of just being in the city and trying to get a feel for just how people approach daily life, and even small things like Koreans eat usually like lunch and dinner quite early, whereas I tend to do it later. So it's small little things like that.
But your current company also inside there are some Korean.
Yeah, it's really international. So people kind of from all over the world, but there's a lot of Koreans that work there as well. And the building itself is so the Green Climate Fund and the UN are just a certain amount of floors. So the rest of it will be Korean agencies or the Korean government in there. So a lot of exchange in that regard.
So then that is not Korean company, international organization. So that's different from Korea work culture, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I operate in the Korean work culture exactly. Parallel to it and obviously influences, but mine is kind of separate from it.
Have you heard about the Korea work culture?
Yes, I have. My housemate works for a Korean firm. So he does production, media production, and he works very, very hard.
Hard working, toxic work culture.
Yes, and going out for drinks with your colleagues after most days, and yeah, so it is different.
You want to experience the toxic
I mean, the Green Climate Fund works very hard too, like they're kind of workaholics, but I've heard Korea is kind of another level. Very hardworking.
Yeah, but there's pro and cons because thanks to that we developed very in short term in Korea, right? But I think we should change the part because there's no life, just work. Anyway, so we talked about the culture thing.